All right, welcome to the bigger picture. We're here with Chase Grisham with the Grisham Group and about a million other things that you do as well. But I would say most people know you best for the Grisham Group. You do a great job advertising on that. Real estate agent, real estate investor. We'll get into all the other things that you do. I'll let you tell them that. And man, I'm happy to have you here. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. I've seen your podcast. I've heard it, and it's fantastic. I think you do a great job.
Well, I appreciate it. And and you were Taylor got me connected with you several months ago, as far as just getting to know you through her, through some of the work events that she went to. Real quick, I'm going to move that mic just a touch closer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
perfect.
Taylor introduced me to you through that. We've had a few conversations, but not anything for any sort of length of time or anything that had any real depth to it. And so I'm excited. I've got questions that I've been looking forward to asking you kind of over lunch or something like that. But fortunately, we get to do that here. So what led you to real estate? I want to know. We're going to get to your upbringing. We're going to get to kind of all the things that got you to real estate in detail. But just right out of the gate, I want to know what was the one thing that got you into real estate starting out and then branched off into all these other things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's kind of hard to not talk about my upbringing when I talk about what got me into real estate.
Well, go for it. Let's start there.
That's kind of what I'm adopted. Mm-hmm. I moved to this area through the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. That's how I kind of found this area. And my house parent, we had house parents, right? It's pretty much somebody who took care of the cottage in a way. And they would work like 6 weeks, and then they would be off a week, and then work 6 weeks and be off a week. And so he was also a real estate agent. And he was pretty much like my second father. And I really looked up to him. He and his family, they seemed very happy. They seemed like they kind of had it figured out. I was young at the time. This was, I was at the children's home before I got adopted. Mm-hmm. And just kind of watching him and kind of wanting to follow into his footsteps, out of high school, out of college, I just kind of realized that I did like people, I liked sales. That was fun to me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, how can I do this? And then I just always followed up with my house parent, and one thing led to another. And here I am.
Wow. So how old were you? You said you grew up in a children's home mm-hmm. prior to that. So children's home up to what age?
I got adopted when I was a grown man. I tell everybody that I was 10 years old. I was 10. I knew everything, right?
That's fun. So adopted at 10. Adopted by a real estate agent?
No. My father's a land surveyor.
Okay.
So no connection with real estate. The house parent before I got adopted as a children's home.
What is a house parent?
I was in pretty much foster care.
Okay.
That was kind of ran by the state. Mm-hmm. And so they had to hire house parents.
Okay.
It's kind of what that's like. Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So dude, I had no idea that was your upbringing. So influenced by that in real estate, and then your adopted dad was a land surveyor. So I mean, was it 10-year-old Chase decided real estate might be something that I want to go into, or was it just something that kind of was in the back of your mind as you grew up?
It was not even a thought. I wanted to design roller coasters for like ever. Mm-hmm. All my friends were like, I want to be a Major League Baseball player. I want to be a football player. You know how we are. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to make it in the big leagues or whatever. Yep. Mine was like, I want to design roller coasters. That was what I wanted to do. And then I figured out you had to be like some sort of engineer, like the smartest. I was like, okay, maybe not. I didn't make it that far in math. Maybe not. And so just through the odd and end jobs I had with sales, I worked at Finish Line, the shoe store, mm-hmm. right out of high school. And you would be surprised at how cutthroat that business is in regards to like upselling.
Really?
Yeah, they were like, you got to sell 10 cleaners a day, 5 shoelaces, insoles. Like that's how they make their money. Mm-hmm. Nike's making all the money on the shoe, really. Mm-hmm. The Finish Line's making money on the socks and the cleaners and the insoles and all of that.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And so they really pushed us to do that. And that's when I was like, man, I kind of like people. I like sales. It's fun. And then so your wheels start turning, and you're like, okay, so like, how can I make the most money in sales? Where are those jobs?
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. So you worked at Finish Line. What are some of the other things that you tried out before real estate was kind of your stick? I mean,
Yeah. I worked at Finish Line, and then I worked at Clayton Homes. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I am. I
Yeah.
am. I know, I've got several buddies that work at Clayton Homes
Yeah.
as well, and some of the best salespeople I know work at Clayton Homes and sell for them. So
Great people. Great people. I really enjoyed that job as well. But once again, I just always had that calling to do just general real estate. And I just kind of kept being pushed back there. And then, but after after Clayton, I worked at Cook's Pest Control. I did sales for them.
okay.
Quickly learned that was not for me.
Were you
Quickly.
crawling in crawl spaces and doing all the
yeah.
inspections as well?
Yeah, they had me like crawling under houses and like looking for bugs and like snakes and termites and all that stuff, and it was horrible.
You know, when you said you worked at Finish Line, 100%, I could see. I mean, the limited knowledge I have about you, I could see. Absolutely, it wouldn't surprise me if I walked into a Finish Line this afternoon and you were in there selling shoes, man. But,
It was so fun. Hey, I became assistant manager. I was one of the youngest assistant managers in all of the company. I became an assistant manager at age 18. I don't know if I still hold the record or whatever, but I broke the record for the most shoelace sales.
Really?
My first
keep track of that.
weekend there. Oh, they keep track of all of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Because once again, that's how they make their money, and so they make it a competition.
So what was your sales pitch? How'd you sell the most shoelaces? I mean, you don't just stumble into that accidentally. You have some kind of system.
Yeah,
to do that.
so shoelaces back then, I don't know how much shoelaces cost now. Well, not at Finish Line. They were like $2.50, right? I would just put them in the shoe. And be like, this looks way better, don't it? And they're not going to tell you no, because then like you got to like take the shoelaces out. You know what I mean? It's like $2.50. Come on, just like lace them up.
Yeah, and they probably like it better.
Oh yeah, they did like it better.
Better.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like throw some red laces in there when they were normally white. Yeah, they ate it up, and it was fine. And then also the insoles, stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's hilarious. 18 years old, just sold the most shoelaces.
Yeah, and I was an assistant manager at 18, not knowing what I was doing, and I worked at like 4 different stores. It was fun. I kind of miss it thinking about it now. It was definitely exhilarating.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So Finish Line, which 100% matches your personality. I mean, doesn't surprise me at all. And then Cooks, I do not see you with a Cook shirt on, crawling with crawl suit, crawling in the crawl space.
I wore the uniform. I did. I whipped that little Cook's car. It was brutal. Great
funny.
company to work for. Great people. Just was not for me. I'll never do that again.
Really?
Just like crawling under crawl spaces in the summer.
Yeah, and I'm with you. So that was part of my background too. Was did fire and water damage restoration. When times get slow, when there's no house fires or floods going on, part of what you do is crawl space work. Go in there. You know, mold is in crawl spaces. We go in there and remediate those. So I know what you're talking about. Put that trash bag on, and it's 90 degrees, feels like 9,000 degrees in there, and then you go crawl around in a stinky, dirty crawl space, and
spider webs all over you.
Yes, it's terrible.
Yeah,
terrible. So and then from Cooks, you went from Cooks to
that was real estate.
Real estate. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So how'd you get into real estate? What was your process for? You have no experience other than Clayton Homes. You have no experience as an agent. What's your next steps?
So I was 22 at the time, and really, I did a ton of real estate in Decatur to start off with, and we really didn't have a ton of young agents. Nobody was really pushing social media that hard. Decatur was kind of an older town in regards to the profession.
What time frame is this?
This was 2017.
Okay.
So not a ton of, especially no podcasts, no vlogs, none of that.
Right.
No really big giveaways. Because back in 2017, the Facebook algorithm was good for giveaways. You could do a giveaway and get 2,000 shares. And no scams. You know what I mean? It was good. But nobody was really doing that. I caught a lot of heat for all of that in regards to being the new guy on the block and trying to promote myself.
In what way? Like what?
Just, I guess people, they weren't used to it. Putting yourself out there like that. Letting people know what you do for a living. I really, really believe that attention is currency.
So what kind of heat were you getting? Just people talking about posting that stuff on your personal page? And
you know, like at that point, it was a professionalism thing. Like, hey, I know you're young. Like, you know, don't post this, do this, do that. You know, hey, like go around and pass out your business card, Chase. You should put an ad out in the newspaper, Chase. And I'm like, why? When I can make one video and reach 5,000 people.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, I may climb a roof, but that's okay. That's fine. We're letting people know what we do, you know? You know, and then kind of tied that into events as well. You know, I feel like people make big time decisions at big events, and even like choosing an agent or just being, I would do everything I could to be top of mind.
Right.
Everything that I possibly could.
Yeah. And that's, you certainly accomplished that. I see it. I mean, dude, I'm not even from Huntsville. Certainly not from the Decatur area. But the amount of times that I see either your content or one of your agents' content on my feed, and I know enough about you to know that that's the game plan, right? To take up space and to occupy all of Facebook feed, and just to be always, if somebody pulls up their social media feed for you and your people's stuff to be right there.
Absolutely.
You've accomplished it 100%.
Thank you.
So that's interesting. I want to let's sit on that for a second, because I love talking about marketing. And I think so far the guests that we've had here, you know, we've discussed things about leadership, about business development, about you know, personality traits or characteristics that cultivate success in a business person. We haven't really had a whole lot of conversation, a little bit with Max on social media, but we haven't really gone in depth on marketing. And so with that being especially something that outside looking in, I think you do well. Let's sit for a second on marketing, because I think there's something to talk about there when you first got into it, about here's status quo, and then here's new kid on the block. Here's what I'm going to do. I've had similar experiences with that, with what we do here. Insurance is not an exciting thing. And so when you try to make it exciting, people don't like it all the time. And so let's sit and talk about that. I'm curious, where's that idea come from? Did you know that the Facebook algorithm was beneficial for giveaways, or did you just figure that out through trial and error? How'd you get your marketing approach?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with saying marketing is easy when you're passionate about what you're marketing. For example, I didn't market cooks. I was in sales, but nobody knew it. The same thing with Clayton. Just really wasn't, I knew that that's not where I was supposed to be. And so I think that's the number one thing, is like find what you're passionate about, like where you're supposed to be, and then shout it from the mountaintops, right? Let everyone know what you do for a living.
That's good.
And like, that's what some of the hesitations are from some people. They don't know if this is their destination. And so if you, jack of all trades, master of none, right? If you start shouting things from the mountaintops that you're doing this and then this and then this and then this, it's hard to make the main thing, right? And so I think that was my kickoff, was like, this is my destination. I know that real estate is my passion. Like I know that this is where I belong. Even at 22, I was like, I know this is it. And so I'm going to go all in no matter what. And how can I do that with my resources? I'm 22, right? I don't have the resources that a 20-year veteran agent has.
Sure.
But I know where everybody is, and that's on social media, right? And so how can I get in their face? What do people want? People want free things. Why not? They want free stuff. Let me give them some free stuff. And all they got to do is share, right?
So what was your, for your giveaways, what was your goal out of that? Was it just followers? Was it just to get people to follow you?
Growing the brand. Let's grow the brand. And I've recently kind of swapped from that. I had a Facebook business page. I no longer have that. Not a big fan of a Facebook business page, just because it's a business. Facebook's a business. You got to put a bunch of ad dollars behind it. If not, it's just going to sit stagnant. You're going to get 3 likes.
Yeah. So you actually got rid of your Grisham
I deleted it. And
Facebook
I had Chase Grisham Realtor Facebook page, and I had 7,000 likes, something like that.
Wow.
But the reason was because I would forget. I would post so much on personal, and then I would forget to post on that. Even me, I'll forget, and I do this all the time, right? And I didn't want people to creep on me and go there first. And be like, oh, Chase hasn't posted in 6 months.
Yeah.
Chase hasn't posted in 3 months. Charlie over here is posting every day. Let me use Charlie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it's interesting because now you're almost calling me out because that's how it is for me too. We've got a business page and it never gets attention because I get more traction on my personal page, and that's where when I have more followers there, get more traction there, and the content that I post fits better on a personal page because it's not overly professionalized. It fits better. It's me, it's me sharing my personality and things that I've learned about insurance. And so, it fits on that. So now I'm wondering if I'm doing myself a disservice by keeping that running in the background with no content on it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where mentally it hurts. You post something and you get 2 likes or no comments or 4 likes. Like we're not supposed to look at that. That's what marketing 101. Just post and ghost. That's what I tell people.
I like that. Post and ghost.
Literally, if your video, whatever it is, who cares about the engagement, right? But we do. And we're like, man, that only got 3 likes. Why am I going to sit here and work on a post for an hour or 30 minutes if I'm getting this type of engagement? Well, if you swap it to your personal, you get a ton of engagement, right? And those are the people that you're talking to every single day. And so that's why I did it. I'm not saying that that's for everyone.
Sure.
I would also do it again if I would be committed to putting some ad dollars behind it. Really pump out that $100 a month, $200 a month, something like that. But that would be the only reason, probably.
Yeah. So that being said, you're not putting any ad revenue in there. You're just purely organic. Your content's just all organic right now.
Yeah, on my personal. Now
personal.
I swapped to creator account where I could, but I don't. It's all just organic, and honestly, it's not even as much real estate as it used to be. It's kind of lifestyle, just with a little bit of sprinkle of real estate. But I think that people, they care about you. They want to see you. You know that. And so we'll sprinkle a little bit of real estate in there. Pump out real estate heavy on the stories, because the story is going to put you and I into a private conversation if you have a question, Right. Whereas you're not going to do that on a comment.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I've never thought about that. I'm doing it backwards, and I actually had a conversation today where I probably need to switch this up. That I'm not posting enough personal lifestyle type of stuff on my feed, but I am posting on my stories. I really probably need to swap that because you're right. If you post on your stories. People, and also I feel like people are more apt to pay attention to insurance or real estate stuff that you do for your professional life on your story because it's there and it's gone, and it's harder to swipe past it. They're already watching something that you posted on your story yesterday, and then it switches to something business related. So that's good, man.
Yeah.
So you started out doing giveaways to grow your following. And then what are some of the other things? You mentioned climbing on a roof. What was that?
We there for like 2 years. I really, have you heard of like the purple cow method? Have you heard of that? So
I don't think so.
Let's say you're driving down the road, okay? And obviously we live in Alabama, so we see a ton of cows. We don't even think twice about it. We don't even look over, right? Well, like what if there was a purple cow? You would probably look at that, wouldn't you? You may stop. You may take pictures. You may share the pictures with your friends. You're going to talk about that purple cow for a long time, right?
Right.
And so that's what we want to do with real estate, right? We want to be the purple cow. A lot of realtors post headshots. They're going to post. Take a picture of their business card if you're looking to buy or sell. Those are a lot of things that a lot of realtors do because it's the easiest, right? It's the less vulnerable. We are very egotistical as agents, right? We don't want to put ourselves out there. And so if we can like humble ourselves and get past that and realize that we are no longer a name and we're a business, we don't need to look at the emotions. We need to look at the red and black, right? We need to look if we're making money or not. You know what I'm saying? And so posting videos, being on a roof with a for sale sign, carrying a for sale sign down the middle of the bridge. You know what I mean? Just things like that can really just reach an audience and be loud are the things that I did for years. just to grow the brand and to get people to recognize what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what did you? Obviously, that would be a purple cow for sure.
Yeah.
But how did that work out? Did you see the attention that you had wanted to get out of it? Was it something that worked for you?
Without Facebook, I wouldn't be here.
Really?
Literally. Like, I would not. Without social media, there's just no way. It really drove my business. It really drove my influence. It led me into doors that I would never once imagine getting into. And I truly think that it's not the best who get the business, unfortunately. It's the best known.
That's right. Yeah, and that is true. That's very much true. And going back to what you were talking about getting some heat for being new kid on the block, and people wanting to post, wanting to put an ad and tell you to put an ad in the newspaper or hand out business cards or whatever it may be. There's a lot of people who have been in the game, no matter what industry we're talking about, for a long time, and you have that much experience. It's hard not to be the best.
Exactly.
As far as there's a lot more people out there that know a lot more about insurance than I do. But we operate almost like a marketing agency that sells insurance, right? I know how to sell home and auto insurance. I know what a home insurance policy is. I know what a car insurance policy is. I know those to a T. Everything else, you talk about business insurance, even life insurance, those types of things get real complicated real quick. But that's not, I never made a promise that I would know the most.
Correct.
I made a promise that I would serve the best and be the most known. And so, man, you couldn't have said it better. It is the people who are not the best, but the most well-known are the ones who get the business. And that's hard for a lot of people to grasp, especially if they've been in it for a while. It's hard for them to make that shift over to social media or some of the other digital marketing things
exactly.
that they do. It's very hard for them to make that shift.
The very first real estate company that I worked for, we had two people that sat across from each other. And one lady, she knew contracts by the back of her hand, one of the most intelligent in real estate that I've ever met. And she would sell 5 houses a year. And then the guy across from her couldn't even fill out a contract. He had no idea. And he probably sold 50 a year, and it's just because he's out there getting the people, bringing them in. And that's why I tell my agents, especially new agents, it's like, get the people, bring them in. We'll help you with everything else. Yeah. That's clerical. Like we will get that done. Let's talk about like the meat and potatoes, right? Like that's going out there and promoting yourself and getting the business.
Well, and I think we talked about this a couple podcasts ago. And you're certainly, I know you're going to agree with this. I'd like to hear your take on it too. But not only is it the most known, but I think people are not always looking for the best necessarily. For example, I know of, I'm trying to think of an industry that we could use as an example, but it doesn't matter. Let's take any industry. Let's say I'm going to go get my oil changed, right? I know that, Howard Bentley and some of these other large dealerships are going to do a great job, right? They have the technology, they have the technicians that they pay more than anybody else, and they've got a team behind them that's going to do a really, really good job. None of that means anything to me if I don't trust them, right? So,
correct, absolutely.
There are places and people in industries that can be good at their job, but if you don't show people who you genuinely are, you're not going to get the levels of business that you need to get or that you could get, because I feel like people today want more authenticity. There's so much content being filled up on these phones that we have, and there's so much, so many Netflix series and so many reality TV shows. I mean, think about this for a second. Think about reality TV. Think about the name of that. Reality TV. This is supposed to be real life TV. Yeah. And it is the furthest thing from it. Absolutely. It is so scripted. People are trying hard to create drama and be people that they're not. And I think because of that, we're on the backside of that, where people now, it's so easy to pick up your phone and just post a simple video that's just you being you. Just like how we're doing right here. Just us be us. And people will watch that and crave that authenticity and you being genuine, and they want to they crave that because they want to do business with people that they trust, not just people who they think might do the best job. If you do the best job and nobody trusts you, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
But
exactly. I love that.
on the other side of it, you may not know everything. You may be new to the industry, but if people trust you, they will trust that you'll at least be honest with them and say, "Hey, I don't have the answer to this, but I got Chase behind me that we can go figure out the details of this contract, right?"
Yep.
But they trust the person they're doing business with to be honest with them, and I think that's more important than just about anything else that you can do in your advertising.
No, I agree with that 100%. That you hit the nail right on the head. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything.
Yeah. Well, and I think again, to give credit to you guys, the type of content that you are posting really contributes to that. Lily is one that I see her, or at least I used to see her post all the time. I think the algorithms changed some stuff on what I see now. I see the Grisham Group page very often, but there's several of your realtors that do such a great job at just being genuine and real and here's who I am,
Yes.
And so, give credit to you guys on that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Something that gets a lot of views now is just sitting in your car. If you look at some of the most viewed TikToks ever of all time, it's people just sitting in their car having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're there, feels more trustworthy, and that's what people are craving. It's not something so scripted.
Well, and that's something I struggled with too whenever we did this studio, and I had planned, and I still do it time to time, but I planned to shoot all my videos, my talking head videos in here with the nice lighting and make things look good because I have a passion for video and lighting and things like that. And I like for things to look good. But I go back and forth of like, I want to shoot videos in there, but at the same time, like I want to go sit on the tailgate of my truck or sit inside my truck and film too, because I don't want this to look like an overly produced, overly professionalized video that somebody's going to look at and just think it's another talking head video from somebody. Let's swap past it.
That makes sense.
So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that part out for myself too on what works best. All of it's working a little bit, and it's better than nothing, but I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, well, I think a mixture of it helps too, because when I see it from the outside looking in, I see, okay, you're investing your money, your time, your energy into something that's nice. If you're going to do that for this, then like, what are you doing for my insurance? You're investing your energy and your time and your money into making sure that I'm getting the best coverage, right? So I think it does kind of go hand in hand. There's definitely a place for it.
Well, makes me feel better. I appreciate that. Makes me feel a little bit better. If Chase thinks that way, then we're doing something right. But okay, so marketing wise, again, you start that. There's a book, by the way, Buzz Marketing. Great book. You should probably read it. There is probably a lot of stuff that you're going to read in there that you're like, I'm already doing this, But super good book. Highly recommend. But that's what that reminds me of. So let's talk more about that. So you're on roofs of houses with a for sale sign, posting videos about that. You're walking down the middle of a bridge. How does that? Talk about some of the growth that you see from that becoming well known because of the purple cow method that you call it, and then somewhere along the way that leads to you opening up your own brokerage.
Yes.
So what? How does that happen? What's that development look like? Tell us the story of you go from marketing guru, new kid on the block, get a lot of attention to I'm going to move into and progress towards own my own brokerage and move in to put the business owner hat on.
Yeah, that one was a fun ride. Absolutely. What I just noticed was I was the new kid on the block and young, and I felt like I had some sort of imposter syndrome, right? We all kind of have that every now and then. Hey, I'm young. Why am I better than this 20-year-old, not 20-year veteran? I'm so young. Why am I better than this 20-year veteran is what I would think every day, right? At the time I hadn't even bought a house. So who am I to sell someone a house? And so really struggled with that a whole lot. And I grew out of that really quick, obviously, because I had to. Hey, it's fight or flight, right? You got to go. But I also noticed that when I probably was 25, somewhere around there, that people younger than me were getting into the business and they were experiencing the same things. They didn't really have a leader for them because there wasn't one yet, right? And we had a lot of brokers that weren't so marketing heavy because that's not what they've known. Really experienced. They know way more real estate than I do. 100 great brokers, great agents, great business owners, but maybe they just didn't know what trajectory we were going in regards to the social media marketing, in regards to the TikToks, to the vlogs, to the podcast, to the events, just to, being loud, I guess is a good way to say that. And so it kind of needed to shift. And I just felt like there's an opportunity there to lead and to help these newer agents come in, know that, hey, like, you got somebody in your corner. You're not on an island. Because I felt like I was on an island. I felt kind of blackballed a little bit. And I wanted them to not feel that way. To say, hey, like, I'm going to have your back. And I would get a lot of phone calls from agents and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, they're doing great. Leave them alone,
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's good too. I mean, we all need somebody like that, right? We all need somebody that's kind of in our corner. And again, I've been fortunate enough to see that on my end where, I've got a couple agents, insurance agents that in all reality, everybody else would probably consider competition because they're in this area and they're with a different carrier and, a completely different agency. But thankfully for them, or thankfully I have them, let me say it that way, because for whatever reason, they are always more than willing to help me out. Any questions I have, I'm able to call them, and they're, I trust them. They're not going to do anything that's going to hurt my business, and they don't have to do that. And so the fact you do that for your agents is fantastic. Something I saw when I first, so let me tell you, let me tell you the first time the name Chase Grisham came up between me and Taylor. Okay. So me and Taylor first start dating. At this point in time, Taylor's still a mortgage lender. And we got invited to, it was one of your events. I'm trying to remember the first one we came to. Gosh, I'm going to struggle to remember it. Whatever it was, we were talking about the Grisham Group. And I told Taylor, again, I'm not from Huntsville, definitely not from Decatur. I'm from here in Albertville. And so it's like, God, that name sounds super familiar, Grisham Group. And she's like, yeah, the owner's Chase Grisham. That name sounds familiar too. I don't know. I can't place, who this is, but that name sounds super familiar. Well, about a week later, we're getting ready to go, and she's talking about the event. And just she adores you and Grisham Group, several of your realtors she's good friends with, and just loves you guys. Big fan of yours. So, she's just talking about different things. She's like, yeah, they bought a fire station, an old fire station for their brokerage, and painted it and made it like super cute and modern, and like it just catches your eye. And as soon as she said that, I was like, that's where I know Grisham Group from. That's where I know Chase from, is somewhere along the way. He popped up on my algorithm. I friended him on Facebook. I started following Grisham Group, and on my feed, I see where you guys have bought a fire department, old retired fire department, and painted it all white, like real modern, looks super sleek and cool. And then you put something on the outside, like sell your home, or
we sell real estate.
We sell real estate, yes. Yeah. And dude, I don't know where the idea came from, but for somebody who wasn't even looking at buying a house or anything like that, like you captured my attention enough to where I noticed it enough where, a month or two down the road, she's bringing it up, and I know exactly who you are from that. So where in the world does that idea come from?
Yes, how fun. That's been such a pleasure to have that building. It really has. I love it. It's in a great location because fire stations because they have to be. It's in like a 4-way stop. Everybody knows where it is and what it is because it was like the old fire station. It's really neat. I was playing golf with my buddy Matt Head a couple years ago, and at that point we were in a temporary location. I had no idea where I was going. We were looking for something a little more modern, maybe a build out. We were looking at something maybe at one point we were looking at a building that was attached to a crumble cookie. We just kind of wanted to be in there. And he was like, hey, the city's building a brand new fire station. what about the old fire station? And I was like, no way, right? No way.
Yeah, that's not.
And so, but immediately, I drove by it and I was like, yes way, absolutely.
So does it still have the fire pole in it and all that?
It's one story. So,
Okay,
so
so
there's
no-
no, it
okay.
still has the two huge doors. We tried to keep the integrity of the building pretty intact because of the history and the firefighters, they still come by. They'll whip the truck in.
Really?
And they just want to see it. Hey, I worked here 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And we did a good job with it. I'm proud of it and I'm thankful for the opportunity to have been able to purchase it from the city. And that was fun in itself, purchasing it from them, because they were like, I guess we're gonna sell it. We don't really know. Nobody's really asked us that before.
That's hilarious.
And then they were like, yeah, I guess you can buy it. And I was like, well, how much? And they were like, I don't know.
That's hilarious. I wonder what they would do with it otherwise. I think just let it sit there and
I don't know.
deteriorate. I don't know.
I don't know. They weren't ready yet, because when I bought it it was still an operating fire station for 6 months after I bought it.
Really?
So like I owned like a literal operating fire station.
That is hilarious.
For a while. And like every dude's dream, right?
Yes.
Like it was so cool.
That is hilarious. Wow. Wow. So I obviously your agents love it. I'm sure they love coming. You create a space for them to hang out in there as well. Office space for them to work and that sort of thing, like common area.
Oh yeah, it's so neat. We'll open up the garage doors. We'll watch football games there. We have a great space. We got a little gazebo in the back. We'll grill out, and
That's cool.
It's very open concept, kind of touch and go. You just come for an hour. A lot of agents don't come to the office anymore.
Sure, yeah.
They're out in the streets getting after it. If they come to the office, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing here? Go sell something.
Yeah. Well, so what else? I know that you've got Grisham Group always puts on fantastic events. We came to your Halloween event this past Halloween.
Did you have fun?
Yes, it was a blast. Taylor told me to expect it to be a blast, and I didn't really know what to expect. I intentionally didn't go look at anything from before. I don't even know if you did it before. I didn't even try to go search for anything because I wanted to go into it completely blind and just see what it was about. And so, freaking awesome, dude.
Thank you.
It was a blast. I told Taylor that the level of detail that you put into those events tells me a lot about you. Tells me that you're somebody who I've wanted to connect with and just talk like we are now, because anybody who's willing to do that with something other than their primary stream of revenue and put that level of detail in is somebody that I want to talk to. I love the fact that you go all out with it. It was great.
I appreciate that. That was year 4.
Really?
So this year will be year 5. Goodness, it doesn't seem like that. And that thing has taken a life of its own.
Really?
Yeah.
What did year 1 look like? Was it anything like last year's at all, or has it grown to a monster of what it is now comparatively?
Yeah. So year 1 was pretty rigged up.
Really?
It was pretty bad. It wasn't bad. We probably had 500 people there. We used half of the space. And
Same space?
The same space.
Okay.
We just kind of cut it in half.
Gotcha.
And we Ingalls Harbor is where it's at. And then we also didn't have the lighting. We didn't have the video boards. We didn't have the production that we do now. I just wanted to make sure that it was something that people would respond to first before making it some sort of an investment. But, that has Grisham Group's name all over it, so we don't want it to be anything other than the best.
Absolutely.
And we take it very seriously, and we've met so many people. I mean, we typically have between 800 to 1,200 people show every single year. And, yeah, it's my baby.
So this is something that I wanted to ask you when I was there, and you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, man, like just making sure everything's going smoothly. But as far as the production of that goes, is that something? Do you and your team put that together yourselves, or is that something? Do you get a production company in there to set up the lighting and the sound and I mean, this year you had a giant video screen, a giant LED wall that you had all kinds of sweet animations for your realtors on there,
Yes.
and everything just looked fantastic. So is that something that you guys do in-house, or do you outsource that to a production company?
Yeah, so I try my best to leave all of the agents out of it until the day of. Now, like day before, 2 days before, they're all hands on deck in regards to the setup. But in regards to the creation part of it, I'll probably ping pong a few ideas off of a few of them. But I want them out selling houses. They're not making any money from this. I want them to focus on their primary. So I kind of Willy Wonka it, the creator, the imagination side of it. And then I just call my production people and tell them what I want, and don't tell me that you can't do it. Tell me how you can do it, kind of thing. And then what is it going to cost me? How can we make that happen?
Did you come up with the idea for the maze, the Halloween maze that you have to go through to get into the space?
Oh yeah, that's like a non-negotiable for me because I want you to be immersed immediately. When you walk in, I don't want you to see anything because the production is impressive. I'm not gonna lie, like it's pretty cool.
It is,
and so like but the place that we have it at is there. It's a fishbowl, right? There's just glass everywhere, so it's like I don't want you to be surprised from the parking lot. I want you to walk in and think that you're going to, because a lot of people that don't know, we're going to a real estate company's Halloween party. Like this is going to be lame, right? And so I want it to be a surprise until you turn that corner.
Yes.
And then you're just like, okay, it's game time.
That's awesome.
Let's have a good time.
You accomplished that.
Good.
Again, I intentionally went into it with that thought because I wanted to go into it completely blind. I didn't want to have any sort of inclination of what it was going to look like from previous years. I just wanted to walk in completely blind so that I could see everything that y'all did from a first time standpoint. And so that was perfect. We walked in. You're sitting there dressed like a pirate that nobody could ever recognize, by the way. You stood there and talked to me for it was like 5 seconds, but it felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Where I was like, who is this guy? Why is he talking to Taylor? Why is he talking? I don't know who this guy is. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, that's Chase. I didn't even realize, you had your white colored contacts in.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so we walk in and go through that tunnel, and I've got no idea what to expect. And then you go in, and like you said, the production is astonishing. It is something to be proud of, and that giant video wall and the band that's playing. And so good job, man. I had a blast.
Thank you.
It was definitely way more over the top than anything I was expecting it to be.
That's good. And in regards to marketing on that, for one thing, it promotes the agents with a video board. Their names, their content's up there all the time. We did not do, this was the first year we didn't do it. Typically, when you walk in, we get name, number, and email addresses. We didn't do that this year because in the past, it was an hour-long wait. And so we just had some hiccups and we weren't able to accomplish that this year. But, at that point, we have your information, and so we can send you content in regards to Grisham Group and stuff like that. And so that helps. And then also just the photos from the night. I mean, if you're not there, you got serious FOMO, because everybody's posting about it. We spend a lot of, I don't know, you probably noticed, we spend a lot of money on the photo op, the backdrop, like where you take a picture.
Yes, okay.
Yes. We spend a lot of money on that just because that's what most people are going to see. There's 1,000 people there, but there's, 50,000 people on Facebook in this area
that's going to see it.
Yeah, correct. So we spend a lot of money on making sure that, because nothing bugs me more. I'm trying to get off topic here. Nothing bugs me more than like a small little 5 foot wide little photo drop photo op that 6 people are trying to take a picture in front of, and they're hanging off the edge, and it's just not symmetrical.
So
you know what I mean?
Give me an example, because I don't know that I saw it, because me and Taylor came in. And then we immediately went to find the group that she was with, and we actually didn't get a picture in front of.
Oh, you
photo.
didn't?
No, we wanted to, but we didn't see it. And not because it was hidden. We just we weren't looking.
Well,
for
the place is huge and it's dark and everything. It is right. It was like kind of right by the bathrooms. It was pirate themed this year, and it was called The Curse of Grisham Bay, and it was like a huge pirate ship or whatever. I don't know. I can send it to you. And let you see it.
I'm just curious. So your typical photo op is like you're saying, 5 foot wide. There's some Walmart streamers hanging off of
Correct.
it. But yours is
10 feet tall, 15 feet wide. No, 12 feet tall, 15 feet wide, and done by a professional artist. And he created a throne with like a ghost pirate ship in the back and waves and everything. And it just says like The Curse of Grisham Bay. And then last year it was Camp Grisham Lake. And then the year before that it was Grisham Manor and just stuff like that.
So now that you say that, I saw it. I didn't realize that was from that. I thought it was some production for before to promote it. your agents had taken plenty of pictures on that thing. So now that you say it, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I thought that was something that you did beforehand to promote the event. But no, that's just you set that up for everybody to take pictures in front of while they're there. That's crazy.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, it's such a huge venue. Sometimes you don't get over there to see it.
Yeah, and so I could sit here and talk about marketing all day.
Let's do it.
But let's continue on. So I want the audience to know some of the other things you're involved in.
Okay.
So you got the events that is to promote Grisham, but you also have Banksy Event Venue now.
Yes.
And then did I see that also with that you've got Banksy? Is it apartments that you have?
I own a property management company as well.
Okay.
And we manage those apartments that are directly above Banksy. Since they're directly above Banksy, we wanted to keep the marketing kind of the same in regards to that. I have a partner in Banksy, and my partner owns the apartments. The only affiliation that we have with those is we manage them.
I got you. Okay. So what else are you involved in?
So yeah, we have obviously Grisham Group, property management company called 11 Property Management, and Banksy Event Venue, working on a few other event venues actually right now as well. And then I have the events, the Chase Grisham Events Company as well that that we're doing a ton of events on. And then I have something that I signed an NDA on I can't talk about.
Okay.
But when I can talk about it, invite me back on.
Okay.
Because it's gonna be sick.
Okay, deal. I'll when you're able to talk about it, when the NDA doesn't apply anymore, holler at me, shoot me a text.
I will. You'll know.
Okay.
You'll know.
No doubt. I'll know. Okay, cool. So Grisham is still your primary. I'm assuming that's what you spend the most time on.
Yes.
Tell me about Banksy Event Venue, because when I saw it, literally picked up the phone and called Taylor, and I was like, "Did you see this event venue that Chase has?" And she's like, "Yes," and it is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. So talk about that a little bit. What made you decide to get into the venue space?
Honestly, we just doing events with Grisham Group has created a passion that I didn't know I had, and that's just getting people together and having a good time. And I was doing it to monetize real estate because we did the first Halloween party and we realized, okay, we got something here. You know, there's 500 people, and then next year there was 1,200 people. Like, we have something that we can gather people around. And I'm not like a stuffy person. When if I want to ask someone for business, I want to do it where they feel comfortable, right? And so you can do that at a Halloween party. You can have those conversations at several different events. We have a Grisham Grammys event every year.
That's what it was. That was the first event that I came to. When I was just talking earlier about the first one, it was the Grisham Grammys. That was the first Grisham event that I came to where I was kind of introduced. First place I met you. That's where it was.
I mean, what'd you think about that? Like, coming in thinking, okay, I'm going to a real estate awards party.
Yes.
Like, what did you think about it?
Well, so for that one, it was a little bit different than the Halloween party because me and Taylor had been talking about you and the fact that I'd started seeing your stuff on social media. So then it piqued my interest. I was like, if I'm seeing this guy's stuff, I don't have a clue who he is. If I'm seeing his stuff and know a little bit about him, the fact that they have an old fire station is their main location, that one I did go and do a little bit of research for it. So I had a little bit of an expectation coming into that where I was kind of new, but still, man, I love the venue y'all picked for that. The level of how do I want to say this? What you do for your agents at that event, you know, making them feel special, having these different awards that you do. But I mean, every real estate brokerage does awards, right? There are brokerages out there that when I see their stuff on social media, it looks like, you know, you got the 5 foot, 6 foot wall, the photo op where their logo is step and repeat all the way across the banner. And it looks more like a corporate, just some kind of corporate dinner, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yours looked more like it was cocktail party. It was super casual, not casual dress, but the attitude was super casual. Let's all hang out. It was more like, let's celebrate this past year, not let's go sit at this dinner and see who won these awards and these metrics this year. It was which I loved.
Yes.
Absolutely love the vibe and the feel of it. Again, going back to similar to what we were talking about with marketing, your approach to that is completely different than what most people's approach to it is. And most people's approach feels very stuffy. Yours feels like this is genuine, this is authentic. We're just having fun. Chase is up there praising his people and turning the eyeballs around. Instead of it being we're going to go try to get do what we can to be in the public view. This one's like Chase is looking towards us and providing value to us and telling us how much he appreciates. I loved it, man. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I took notes for myself if we ever get big enough to do something like that, So did a great job with that.
Thank you. Traditionally, an awards party is private, right? It's just for the people of the company and their spouses, significant others, or whatever. And so we used the Blind Tiger at the year that you came.
Yes, it was the Blind Tiger.
The Blind Tiger, and this was before I had Banksy. And so we had to rent it until midnight. And it was I believe it was like a 6-hour minimum or something like that. And I was like, oh, this thing's like, if I'm paying 6 hours, I'm gonna get my money's worth.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there, I was like, well, how could we monetize this as much as possible? Not us make money, but get the most out of our
just get the most value out
correct. And I was like, okay, well, all these agents are going to have all these nice fancy awards. Like, why not bring in the public to celebrate them? Like, what better way to show that you sell real estate and you're good at it than to have strangers walk up to you and you're holding like 3 awards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we had the event from like 7 to 9 or 6 to 8, I can't remember. And that was private. That was food. That was for the agents. That was, speeches and awards. But as soon as 8 o'clock hit, or it may have been 9, I can't remember, the doors opened and everybody swarmed in. We had a DJ, we had lights, we had themed drinks, and all of them, they were able to see all of the agents. And they were able to see them with their awards all dressed up like, oh my gosh, you were the highest producer. You had the most transactions. Oh, you're the best dressed, just random stuff like that. And it really helps my agents market. What easier way to market themselves than to be in that room.
That's genius, man. That's absolutely genius. And I think that's other real estate brokerages need to take note of that because your agents are going and posting on social media right after anyways. So they're trying to get the eyeballs of the public on those awards and on the accomplishments of not just them, but the brokerage too. What better way to do that than invite people there in person to experience it in real time?
Exactly.
I mean, that was fantastic. And I enjoyed just getting to meet some of the people that were there, getting to meet some of the agents one-on-one, meet some people that you've seen on social media, you don't know a whole lot about. And then you go up and can have a real conversation with them. I think that's fantastic.
Yes, and people don't realize that Facebook ad will make you money 6 months down the road. You meet people, it may not make you money right then, but 6 months down the road, they're going to slide up to that story we were talking about into that private conversation, and they may buy a house from you.
Yes.
And so that's my only goal is to let's put ourselves in situations to where we can meet the most people, so where we have more opportunities. And that's how we do it, is by not closing off events and opening them up to people. And another thing too, it's like, once again, we go back to egos of agents. It's vulnerable. Like, events don't always work. And you spend a lot of time, effort, energy, you spend a lot of time promoting it. And then if you have an empty room, that's hard. So that's why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's why we try to do it. It's because not a lot of people do it, but it is very hard.
Yeah, it's very risky too. Like
exactly.
You said, if you don't put all your eggs into that basket for that period of time, you may end up with a completely empty room, and you almost demoralize your agents more than if you just didn't do it all together. And
exactly.
So
exactly.
It is risky, but y'all knocked it out of the park, man. It was. Sure. I mean, when I showed up, it was full. I mean, it was.
Oh, it was like shoulder to
shoulder in that, and it wasn't a small space either. It's not a tiny space. It was shoulder to shoulder, so you killed it with that as well.
Thank you.
As we talk about these things again, let's go back to marketing, and let's go back to not necessarily marketing efforts themselves. You said something at the beginning of this. You said it's not hard to market yourself when it's something that you're passionate about and something that you want to do. Where do you find your motivation to keep pressing and keep on with stuff like that? Not just marketing, but but your other business ventures as well, because there's a lot of people out there that it's like, well, if I could just own this business, do this amount of marketing and bring in the revenue that I think I want to make, I'll just coast, go into coast mode. It's almost like, if I can make this work, then that gives me enough gas in the tank to put the pedal to the floor and then go to this next thing and then this next thing. And to some that may seem, you may risk, not being content, not being happy, but I'm a firm believer that you can be content, but not be complacent. And so how do you, I guess a couple questions, where does your motivation come from on that? And then also, how do you balance that where you don't burn yourself out on keep going?
Yeah, that's a great question. The motivation part's kind of deep in regards to that.
Go for it. Well,
so
dig in.
I'm adopted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my mother when I was 6, and it was just me and my sister. And I lost my sister when I was 21, right before I got my real estate license. And it was always the three of us. I don't even know my father's name. Like, I don't have a clue what his name is. And so I've always felt like I'm not just living for me, I'm living for 2 other people. And so, who didn't live to see 30? Neither one of them. My mother passed away at 29 and my sister passed away at 26.
Man,
and so, like, how can I be the best version of myself, because I owe it to them. So I'm not living for me, I'm living for technically 3 people. And so, like, I owe it to them every single day to give my best, because they didn't get to see 30. And I take that very seriously. And so, like, if I have time in the day to be the best version of myself, then that's what I'm going to do. So that's where the motivation comes from. And in regards to just getting it done, it's a lot of energy, really. You just got to be able to find that energy and just run with it. The Banksy thing, now every weekend, I'm at a wedding reception, I'm at a prom, I'm at a sorority party, or I don't know, doing something in regards to the venue, and it is very time consuming, that side of it. Because that was normally the time that I had off, and now it's not. But if you look at it in the bigger picture, I know that one day it'll be a foundation that I can build on for my kids.
Yeah.
And then maybe also, if something were to happen to me, then they would at least have something to grow on, from that end, because I didn't have that opportunity, obviously.
Yeah. Well, so you're not just living for 2 other people as well. You're living for 2 other people plus some future, for your kids when that's interesting, because I would say the majority of the people, maybe all of them actually, all the people that I consider make a big impact on my life, or at least that I look at for inspiration in business, none of them do it for them, or solely for them anyway. None of them, it's almost like you don't have enough motivation inside just you to accomplish those things.
Yeah.
You have to rely on the motivation that comes from, 4 or 5 other people as well.
Correct.
And so that's cool, man. I didn't know that I didn't know about your mom, didn't know about your sister.
Yeah.
And so, man, I hate that, but that's certainly an inspiring story. And what why I'm gonna dig deep.
That's fine.
Why does that create motivation inside you versus a lot of people would just use that either as an excuse or a reason to shut down? But rather than shut down, rather than do something safe and easy and try to deal with those emotions and heartache from that, why do you decide to go a different route and almost layer on not more heartache, but layer on certainly more work, right, and more stress? And where does that come from? Why did you decide? Why do you think you decided you went that route as opposed to use that as And if anybody has an excuse, that's an excuse, right?
Yeah,
Why,
absolutely.
why would you not use that as an excuse?
So I was in the vehicle when my mother died, and so like it could have been me too. And so like I think that is something that I take very seriously, and that like I need to live for her. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
My sister overdosed on heroin when she was 26. And once again, like, what could I have done differently? She reached out a few times just for money. I knew what it was for, but like, what could I have done differently? Could I have reached out more, gotten her help? And sometimes I blame myself. And so it's like, why, like, what can I do to live for them? Because they deserve it. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so I think that's where the motivation comes. Like if I just sit back and coast, like what's the point? And so I think that's really what it comes from. And in regards to the coasting part in business, you never know what the next month's going to look like. And so for anybody that is coasting, a COVID, for example, you're done, right? And so I don't just try to break even or just try to get by. It has to be 10x. It has to be way more, because if not, then like you never know what your next month's going to look like. You never know what agent's going to come and what agent's going to go, who's going to leave. You never know when a COVID type thing happens and you have a wedding venue and nobody's getting married, And so those are things that I look at in regards to not taking your foot off the gas is because of that. And then also, once again, the deeper motivation that I have to take care of my girls who couldn't make it to 30, unfortunately, but they're always with me.
Man, that's I had no idea. Had no idea. I think that's so much deeper than what most are going to be able to have. For somebody who is, I think I was looking at some statistics on viewership of this, and a lot of the people that watch this are younger crowd, maybe just started in their serious career, real estate, insurance, maybe they're early on in business. What advice would you give them specifically as far as that goes? I mean, that was great right there talking about, I don't believe there is a such thing as coasting. If you're coasting, you only coast when you're going downhill, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to go uphill, you have to put your foot on the gas. The only time you can coast is when you're going downhill. And so either that or you're slowing down, and neither one's good.
Nope.
And so I don't believe that there is a such thing as coasting, because you're not staying level. So aside from just that, what sort of advice or maybe some things that you've learned along the way that would help those who are just starting out in their career? I mean, you should be good at this because your agents, this is the kind of crowd you targeted, was the younger crowd and the ones who are brand new. So at least initially you did. So what advice or tips or things that you've learned would you give somebody about work ethic, about the amount of hours that it takes to get started and to be successful doing something? I think you're certainly qualified to talk about that. So what are your thoughts there? What if you're talking to somebody that's just getting started in real estate? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, number one, it's gonna suck, 100%. Never feel sorry for yourself. That's the number one way that people get out of the business, is they start feeling sorry for themselves. They start like, woe is me. They play the victim. I'm not good enough. I don't dress good enough. I'm not from the right family. I'm not from the right area. Like all of those things, and it's excuses. So you have to not feel sorry for yourself and get down, because it's going to be hard. Like I'm sure with the things that you're doing, the things that you've built, your first probably year or two it was probably hard.
It sucked, man.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't give up, right? You kept pushing, kept going through, and you have to get through that, because if not, then you're going to sink. And so that is the number one thing. And in order to be comfortable, you have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to.
Well, you're exactly right about that, because growth never happens when you're comfortable.
Exactly.
If you're comfortable, it means that you're not stepping outside and growing. And so if you feel like you're comfortable right now, you're probably not in the spot you need to be to grow. It's okay temporarily, maybe, but if you want growth only comes when you're uncomfortable. So
Yes.
I completely agree. So.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and that's what I see the failure comes from. Is people who they kind of play the victim a little, and it's like, hey, trust me, I just told you a little bit of my story. That's not even half of it. If anybody could play the victim, it'd be me, right? But you can't. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You have to play the cards that you're dealt because that's all that you have, and you owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself because we only have one shot at this, right? We only got one life, and you got to find your passion. And if you're not in your passion, then you need to find it really fast because the sooner that you can find it, the more successful you're going to be at growing it. You know what I mean? And like what you've done, I feel like insurance is probably your passion, but also like you said earlier, the video, the marketing, like all of those things, that's your passion. And you've figured out a way to monetize that in a way through insurance, which is probably, once again, also a passion, but it's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just about to go there with that is I think a lot of people search for their passion and they get disappointed when they don't find it in whatever it is they're doing in that point in time because they are misreading the situation. I promise you, when I was in high school and middle school, I did not sit there and think that I wanted to look at insurance policies all day long, right?
Right.
That's not what I wanted to do. I did know that I wanted to own a business. Didn't know what that business was going to be. But through books and through YouTube, thank God for YouTube, through just various different courses that I paid for and coaching books and that sort of thing, I knew what I wanted my business to look like. I knew what I wanted the marketing to look like, and I knew what I wanted our processes and procedures to look like. Just didn't know what the business was yet. And so, and this isn't about me, so I'm not going to go through the whole background of how I got into it, but found my way into insurance, got licensed in it, and then insurance became a passion.
Yes.
But the root passion was I wanted to own a business. I wanted to run my marketing a certain way. I wanted a certain look, and I wanted certain processes and procedures. And so for anybody else that's out there listening, your passion may not be the exact thing, the day-to-day task that you're doing right now, but it could be an outlet to perform your passion. Like you said, the videos and the marketing that we do, I love it. I love what we're doing right here.
Yes.
I couldn't do this without insurance.
True.
Also, insurance is something that is a passion. I love looking at policies now. Didn't expect it, but I love looking at policies now. If I couldn't do this, though, and I couldn't do the videos that we do and the marketing that we do, I'd probably just leave insurance altogether. Because like you said, if insurance was sitting at a desk all day looking at policies and putting an ad in the newspaper, it wouldn't be very fun to me.
Nope.
I could do it, but it wouldn't be very fun to me.
Exactly.
And so a lot of people look for their passion. You talked about finding it. They're looking over the fence. They're looking for grass is greener situation. It's like, how about figure out what your passion is on a root level and figure out how to do that in what you're doing already. There's a guy that I listened to that talked about, he talks about how the years it takes, the time it takes to make it, if you think about success within or relative success within an industry, you get into real estate and you start, and it may take, you don't know this yet, but it may take 7 years to reach the point that you think you're going to be happy at, right?
Yep.
You get 3 years into it, and you're up this hill, this mountain, and then you decide, well, this is a little bit hard, and I'm not really getting the results I wanted by this point in time. I wanted 7 years worth of results in 3 years, so I'm 3 years into this thing, but now I'm going to jump and go do this thing over here. Well, what you don't realize is you didn't make a lateral move. You may have made a lateral move in your head, but you just dropped down as far as experience and building that up. So then you just drop down to the bottom of that. You've got to go 3 more years of building your way up. You're still not there. And so a lot of people get stuck in this trap of jumping from this to that because they never find their niche or find their passion in what they're doing. It's like
Exactly.
that the job may not be your passion. What you do with that job
Yes.
could be.
Spot on.
It also could be that that job is what funds your passion. I promise you, this podcast makes $0, but we're able to do
Come
it
on
because
now.
we sell insurance. So I think a lot of people sell themselves short on what their passion is, and they're looking for it in such a black and white way.
Yes.
It's like you could have a passion that's underlying there that you could execute through real estate, through selling cars, through insurance, or whatever it may be.
I agree with you 100%.
So
that's spot on.
You said you've told half the story. Are you comfortable to share the other half of your story?
Of my story?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I
don't
know more about
really
you.
talk about it much because it's just is, it's just life. It is
Sure.
It is what it is.
Well, if you're comfortable talking about it, I think there's value in talking about it. Not to create more excuses for you, but I think there's potential that somebody out there could be listening that is in a similar situation, or at least experiencing similar hardships, that sees no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And you may be that light that they see at the end of the
that
tunnel.
makes
So I
sense.
think there's value in talking about it if you're comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I was born in Huntsville. It was just me, my mom, and my sister. The three of us. Like I said, I never knew my father and don't know his name. And that a lot of people ask me my ethnicity. My ethnicity? However you say that word?
Ethnicity. Yeah.
They ask my ethnicity. And I don't know. I don't have a clue what I am. I always tell people I'm like Sicilian or Italian or something. I feel like it's more romantic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't have a clue. And so my mother and I were going to pick up my sister from daycare. I was at the time very young. And I was in the passenger seat. I don't know if I should have been, but a vehicle comes from out of nowhere, runs a red light, and she reaches over to protect me as like any mother would. And she was ejected through my passenger side window.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And unfortunately died on impact there, but I don't know if I would be here if she didn't do that. I don't have a clue. So it was just me and my sister in this big old world, the two of us. We went from foster care to foster care. We jumped around so much. I went to probably 15 different elementary schools.
Oh my gosh.
And just it was the foster care system was really up and down. I'm a big advocate for DHR. I think they need more funding. I would be in Hampton Cove one week, and then the next week I'd be at a trailer park, and you could tell they just wanted the money. It was bad. We were there. So then they decided that they would put me with my aunt, uncle, and cousins. They thought that was the best idea for us. DHR they try to get you with the family, right? And so the cousins it was one male and two females. The male was probably at the time 16 years old. He was sexually assaulting my sister, who at the time was probably 9.
Oh my God.
Obviously didn't know about it. She may have been 8 at the time. And so we quickly got out of that situation and went back to foster care when they realized that this was not a place for us. The family was not the route to go. And so we went back to foster care, went through all of those different foster homes, and we finally landed at the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. So my sister, once again, a little older than me, kind of knew a little bit more of family, kind of really even knew my mom a little more. She ran away from the children's home just because mentally she already had been abused so much. She didn't trust anyone, just really struggled. And so she went to a juvenile. She became, a child of the state at that time, some juvenile detention, kind of halfway house, so to speak. And so when I got adopted, they were not allowed to adopt her at the time because she was still going through what she needed to do with the juvenile level.
Were they trying to? Did they want to do that when you were adopted?
Correct. They were looking into it. Correct. My parents were, and so they really couldn't. And then she kind of went down the wrong path when she got out because when you turn 18, the state just drops you off. They don't care about you at that time. And so we stayed in contact for a good bit, but once again we were going down 2 different paths. And so that's why I feel guilt in regards to her. It's like maybe I should have connected with her a little more. She was the only family that I had, blood family. And so maybe I should have connected with her a little more. But I obviously I didn't. And so I got that phone call one day that she had overdosed on heroin at the age of 26, and I was the only one there that really would pay for her funeral.
Wow.
And I think I was 20. Yeah, I was 21 at the time.
Wow.
And so that was really, really difficult. And I think in regards to like missing family, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think we're blessed that we have the technology that we do today. Cause like, I was so young, like I don't even know my mom's voice. Like I would do anything just to have a video of her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just small things like that just means so much. Like a video, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea what her voice sounds like. And so now with the people that I loved, I make a note to save voicemails, even though I probably have videos of them and everything, but it means a lot to me because I don't have that with my mother. And that's one of the harder things for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I would say you didn't tell the half of it earlier. There's much more to it. Well, God bless your parents, right? I mean, the fact that they were able to adopt you. So the Alabama Baptist Children's Home, is that Baptist as in Christian Baptist?
Yes.
What's your experience there as far as, I mean, is that, I've always been curious about this, okay? Does institutions like that cultivate an environment that shines a positive light on Christianity?
Yes.
Because I think there's a lot of opportunity for it to be negative. And I've always wondered about that. Is it something that Christianity is seen as in a positive light from the people who stayed there and benefited from it?
Yeah, that was the first structure that I had seen in regards to like guaranteeing a meal. You know what I mean? So like, I don't really know, like for me personally, being so young, I really didn't look at it from that side. I just looked at it like, oh my gosh, I have my own bedroom. I don't have to share a bed. I don't have to sleep on the floor. I get to eat, and I don't have to worry about where my next meal's coming from. Like, even my mother, no money whatsoever. We were in and out of apartments and, projects and stuff like that. And so never really was a safe and secure place. And so the children's home, the foster homes were okay, but it was never really home because it was so in and out. And like I said, some were nice homes in Hampton Cove, but some also were not nice homes, and not nice people. They just wanted the money. And so the children's home was the first time that I felt like outside of that I experienced love really and care, to the tune to where I didn't even want to get adopted. I remember fighting it. When they were like, hey, you're going to be adopted. Do you want to do this? And I'm like, no. I mean, I had a swimming pool. I had a basketball goal, tennis court. I had friends my age. I had guaranteed meals, and I had moved so much. And then I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to, because at that time, my sister, like I wasn't going with her. So it was just me. I was alone. And so, I was scared, and I remember just not wanting to go, but I'm glad I did. I love my parents. They're fantastic. They're the best people. I actually met them at church, Alabama Baptist Children's Home. We went to a Baptist church. We went on a little trip to Six Flags, and I was young at the time. I told you I got adopted at 10. So I was obviously too short to ride any of the roller coasters. And so
what do you do at a roller coaster park, and you can't ride roller coasters? What do you do? Just sit there?
Yeah, well, I hung out with Gorman's my dad's name, my adopted dad's name. I hung out with Gorman the whole time. We sat on a park bench and just chatted it up. And I guess he liked me enough to, they decided they wanted to adopt me. But yeah, I didn't really do much, but it was just nice to be there.
So do they give you any sort of choice from what you remember? Do they give you any sort of choice in that? Like if you said, no, I don't want to be adopted, I'm scared. I have everything that I've never had before, including stability here. Do they give you any sort of choice in that? Or is it just kind of like, well, he wants to, so, and you're a minor and you're under our care and custody. So, you are going to be adopted? I mean, what does that process look like?
You know, I don't really remember the whole process. I remember going through counseling a lot. I had a counselor that really walked me through every step of why it was a good idea, and I'm really thankful for that because it was the best thing for me. But once again, when you're 9, you're not thinking of that. You're thinking of, I want to go swim with my friends. I want to play softball and wiffle ball and football and like hang out. And once again, the security thing was because 9 years seeing that much was a lot. And so I like, hey, I just got here, you know, why are we leaving again? But I do think that they prepped me for it a lot. They talked to me about what was going to happen and everything. Cause my real name was, Chase Colbert. That was like my born name. So Grisham is my adopted name. So like, I
It's
guess
a much cooler name.
Right,
like
I know,
it.
right? I guess the first 10 years of my life, I was Chase Lee Colbert. Sounds weird to say now, even though like that was my name. And now it's Chase Grisham. But yeah, so that's kind of the process, I guess. It wasn't. They were probably going to adopt me no matter what, just because everyone knew that was what needed to happen. I was just being stubborn.
Yeah. Well, not just stubborn. I mean, seriously, stability means a lot.
Yeah.
Even without the pool and without the basketball court, stability and meals both.
Meals,
is something. Yeah. I mean, that's. I can imagine the struggle of getting there and then just shortly after somebody wanting to make you pick up and leave can be difficult, but. That's awesome, man.
And, you know, even the foster care, people think, hey, you're going to foster care, like, that's good. I mean, we would go to foster care and not get fed. Just because people were doing it for the wrong reasons, they would. I didn't. When I lived with my aunt and uncle, I didn't eat a hamburger for probably 15 years because every single meal was a $1 cheeseburger from McDonald's or Burger King. Every single meal.
Really?
A breakfast, lunch, dinner didn't matter. That's all that I had. So after that, I didn't eat a hamburger until like a couple of years ago, just because I was so like scarred by it.
Wow.
Yeah, and just people, they do it for the wrong reasons, and it's not. You know, you have a check-in, but that's easy to fake.
Well, that was something I was curious about too. Is how do they not catch that before then? But you just put on a smile and fake it during that check-in too.
And then, you know, when you're my age and then my sister, who's, you know, like, she's not going to speak up. Thankfully, she finally did. And I will say, when she did, they got us out of there that day.
Wow.
They took us out of school. I remember it. It was during Christmas time, and I was making a gingerbread house.
Wow.
And I just asked, I was like, can I take my gingerbread house with me?
Wow.
From the school. Yeah. And so I was in DHR. And I don't know how old I was at the time. 7 or 8. I don't know. 8. And I had like a gingerbread house with me. It was funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, that's heavy, man.
Yeah. Sorry to like drop all that. I know we're talking about marketing.
No, I think
that.
I think that this is valuable. This is there are people who's going to resonate with this. It may not be the same exact situation, but there's going to be people who are dealing with the same hardships that they definitely need to hear that. And then also be able to look and see how far you've come since then. And so we're getting towards the end of this thing. What's next for you as far as what's the future look like for Grisham Group? What's the future look like for Banksy? I know there's something with an NDA you can't talk about yet. We won't address that. But you know, is the future bright for Chase?
Oh yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
I promise you one thing. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can, and I'm going to give it my all. And there will be no excuses. That's a guarantee out of me. And I'm going to give it my all. Grisham Group we're doing great. You know, I like the agents that we have. We're a little more picky on who we bring on. We got a good group of agents who get it. They produce, and they're happy to be there, and I'm happy to have them. Banksy's fun. It's great. We're doing great at that. I've learned so much about just that whole process. And it's been a lot. And I find myself, I'm like washing linens. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the amount of cake that I get like wedding cake and birthday cake, and like also like catered chicken fingers and mac and cheese. It's crazy. Like every single week I have just tons of cake and mac and cheese.
You don't have to worry about food on the weekends.
Oh,
At
I
least.
know, right? And it's honestly like, and then they just try to push it on you. They're like, oh my God, do you want this? And you're like, okay, you're not asking me to be nice. You just don't want it.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, oh, I've eaten so much cake. It's amazing, but it's been really, really fun, and very rewarding to be able to see people celebrate, big moments in their lives and to be a part of that. That's been great. And like I said, I'm trying to work on a few other venues as well to be able to appease everyone.
Sure.
On that end. We have property management as well. That's going good. You mentioned Lily. Lily actually runs that.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And she's doing great. And once again, we're just glad to have that and be able to help people. I didn't want to do that really, but then people just kept asking and asking and asking, and I was like, okay, it's time. Let's open that up. And it's been very rewarding as well. And then,
why were you hesitant about it? What was it that made you think you didn't want to do it?
I think it's always finding the right people, and a lot of times it's finding the right people before you even realize you want to have that business. You know, you see someone who has a strong point, who has a passion for something, and has the ability to make it happen, but they may not want to own it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, if you're gonna do this, then I'm in. And so that was, you know, maybe one of the reasons. The other reason was, once again, it's a lot of work. It is. And I didn't know if I had the time for it.
Sure.
A lot of work.
Well, I think, man, I said it throughout this whole thing. I admire your marketing. I admire the grandiose ideas that you come up with, you know, the Willy Wonka
Yes.
imagination machine over there, Imagineer or whatever. I love that. And there's certainly, I was ecstatic that you said you wanted to come on, because there's certainly, I wanted to have this type of conversation with you, but also just an admiration for your style of marketing and the fact that you just keep going. And it feels like every time I open up Facebook, there's one more thing that you've added under the Chase Grisham belt, you know, of that are all somewhat related a little bit, but they're not related enough where it's like, man, that's a whole new venture, and he's just gonna figure it out, I guess, as he goes. And I admire that. And so thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. I always ask this. Quentin, the first person on the podcast, started it, but what is your one thing that you want to leave everybody with? Think about somebody that may be viewing this, and you want to leave them with something lasting, something that impacts them, maybe something that tells them a little bit more about you. What is your one thing that you would leave with somebody to maybe motivate them to continue to press forward after adversity?
Yeah, I think I always say, you know, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody's going to help you. Everybody always looks out for themselves. And so it's really, really up to you to build and design the life that you want and the life that you deserve. And there's nobody else is going to do that. So you really need to take charge of your life. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
I love that. I'm about to write that on that whiteboard when we finish here. So I love that, man.
I appreciate
you. No kidding. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you for coming on. Message me whenever that new venture, whatever it may be, comes to light.
I will. You'll hear about it.
Let's get you back on to talk about it and promote it a little bit.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, really, really. This is a phenomenal podcast. You're building something great. I've been keeping up with you as well. Your building looks fantastic. I mean, you're killing it, especially for your age. I mean, you have what it takes to be successful.
Well, you asked, and I appreciate that, but you asked, you know, if the first couple of years of this was a challenge, dude, it's still a challenge. We have not crested anything yet. So, you know, we are blessed for what we've done so far. But we're nowhere near finished, and that's purely out of necessity, right? Because we're still young. We like to operate like a large agency, and we like to operate like a large marketing department, but we're not. There's three of us here, you know, and so things are not to the scale that we would like them to be. And we're still pushing forward, and it's still very much a challenge. And I just appreciate you for being willing to have a conversation with me from the very beginning. From the first time I met you, you were extremely kind. Whether you were actually interested or not, you at least made me feel like you were, So I appreciate that, and we're going to keep pushing forward, much like how you have done, and will continue to do.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chase.